Hey there! Today we're going to be talking about, one nearly fell off, slipped off my lap there, but here we are. We're going to be talking about this pen. This is a big boy. That's a lot of pen. This was sent to me by Hiren of Magna Carta in India. He's done some really cool stuff with it. This is the Mag 1000. It has a number 10 nib. Picture a really big nib and double that in size, and then you have a number 10 nib. So we're going to be talking about that. This is eine ganz große Füller, and that should be a lot of fun, because if you know me, then you know that I do enjoy a larger pen. So this pen ticks a lot of boxes for me, I will say. I'm going to cover a glitch. I'm going to cover the parts of this pen. I will do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Okay, here we go with the Mag 1000. I'll show you the pen, the parts, all that stuff, but first the box. Cardboard outer sleeve. I like that. One-handed. Absolutely most idiotic way to do it, but there we are. Box, Magna Carta and Magna Carta logo, which I quite like. It's a simple logo, I like it, it's nice. Box, pen condom, warranty card, bottom of box, desk, cutting board actually. Okay, I'll give you the pen, we'll zoom in a bit. Next to Pilot Metropolitan, get ready for this. Okay, so it's a big pen, right? This pen is 410 US. It's not cheap, and I'll get back to that. It has a number 10 nib made in-house. I'll show you that up close, obviously, in just a second. It's steel, not gold. They're available in fine and medium. It has a huge ebonite feed, an ebonite nib collar as well. It includes a converter, Schmidt converter. You can also use short and long standard international cartridges, and the trims you see are 24 karat PVD gold plated. Let's talk about this pen. I've been playing a lot around this pen. I drained a converter in about a couple days. It was just too much fun to play with. Okay, so on top we have this finial. It's a premium ebonite. It's a very nice shiny ebonite. We have the clip. The clip is tight. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, if you don't know. I mean, this is a pretty vintage look for a pen, right? It kind of looks like a vintage pen. Ebonite body, gold trim, the shape of this clip. Clip is tight but works well with that ball. Has a center band that says Magna Carta, and at the back end has the Magna Carta logo. We have the barrel, which I'll put it down so you can see. It's not, I mean, it's straight, but then here at the end, oops, sorry, it tapers down. Okay. Big pen. Look at that nib. That's a lot of nib. Here we have, I just took out some, it's this very random set of pens, but I'll try to hold them up. Here you have a Visconti. This is a number 6. This is a number 10 nib. Okay. Here we have, sorry, they're going to roll away, but I should have thought this through more and maybe taken out different pens. Here we have a Conid. This is a number 8 nib. Just trying to hold them all up so you can see them. About there. Number 6, number 8, number 10. This nib is huge. And like I said, Magna Carta makes them in-house in India. The number 8 nibs that they make in-house are used by other companies as well. For example, the Edison Pen Company uses them. I was just bridging the gap here. Here I have, oops, I'm sorry for the noise. Here I have a Namiki Emperor, which is, that's their number 50 nib. It's a proprietary size. And here is this number 10 nib. Now, this nib is in that section for a bit, but I mean, it's huge. If you have a pen that has a nib that makes a Namiki Emperor nib look small, then you know you're holding a very, very big nib. So anyway, further parts of the pen. Don't worry, it's just a Namiki Emperor rolling over a desk. Very nice and shiny, well polished, tapers down, flares out a little bit, and then you have that huge nib. This huge nib has the Magna Carta logo on it. It says 1215, and I forgot to ask Hiran what that represents, so I'm going to ask, and maybe I can put it on the website. Also says India, Magna Carta logo, and I find the heart-shaped breather hole particularly cute. It's a nice touch. I'm just going to take a sip of tea, people. Nice, another vintage touch. A lot of vintage nibs had that shape of breather hole. This feed, again, is huge. I can't express enough how big these are. So here, again, you have that Visconti feed, number 6. I mean, look at the difference in size. It's mammoth. And of course, here it's imprinted with M for medium. These come in medium and fine nibs only, which I believe I already said. Just making sure that I really have. These pens are not made for posting, because if you post it, it just looks idiotic. This is ridiculous, but it can sort of post. That back end of the barrel does taper a bit, so you could sort of post it. It's not necessarily super secure. Frankly, I wouldn't do it. Look at how big this pen is. Note that my fingers are stretched, right? So I mean, it's a big pen. One issue that some people had is that the nib is too big for them, and it doesn't allow for comfortable angle to the paper. Because I mean, think about it, sometimes you can hold a pen in a slightly different angle, but if the nib is too big, I mean, you can't hold the nib and feed, right? I mean, you can, but then that sort of thing happens, and you have ink all over you. If only I had a tissue here. Okay, there we are. So anyway, for me it was not an issue, but I get that point, and I'll come back to that in likes and dislikes. For now, I buried my notepad under the pen box, so give me 1 second. Ayush paper from India, Indian pen, Indian paper. Thought that would be kind of cute. Let's zoom in a bit and let's do some writing. Here we go. This is the excuse me. Skip Magna Carta Mag 1000 with a steel medium nib in number 10, and the ink is Edelstein Star Ruby Red. Okay. It's a good nib, pleasant writer. If it were my pen, Hiran didn't say if it is, but it is now. I'd make it a little bit wetter, but overall, that was with some pressure, and you see there are a couple skips, and I think that's just the dryness. I don't think it has anything to do with the tipping material or anything. It's really just the dryness. If I do this without any pressure at all, so fast writing without any pressure, you see there's more skips. So again, for me, it could be just a little bit wetter, right? But that's just my preference. Again, this here, no pressure. This is some pressure. You see it's definitely wetter that way. So I might make this a little wetter, but for the review I wanted to keep it just the way it is, right? Okay, it's a round nib, and this is not a flex nib, right? This is not a flex nib. If you really like flex nibs, you should check out my review of its little brother, the Mag 600, which, that was of course terrible. No, come on, you can do it. Which does that sort of thing. But this is not a flex nib, so this is not a number 10 version of that flex nib. That's a gold nib. I know there was railroading there, but I just recorded the writing sample for that pen with a lot of flexing, so it's a little dry. This one does not do that. Having said that, I have found that with some pressure, always very careful, it's not meant as a flex nib, you can definitely squeeze out some line variation. So it's fairly responsive, but not a flex nib. What about reverse writing? It runs dry. It's still, I've seen way scratchier, but it runs very dry. So maybe if you want fine writing, just get the fine version of this nib. Even this one, the medium version, is definitely not the widest of nibs, I would say. So there we are. Okay, let's discuss likes and dislikes. And I will say straight away, I really like it. I've had a lot of fun with this. What do I like? What do I not like about this big black thing? Well, I think there is a lot to be said for it. But if you know me, if you've seen my videos, then you know that I would like this pen. It's big. It has a big nib. It writes nicely. There is an awful lot for me to dislike, but I'm going to try anyway. I like it's a large pen. That's not for everyone. Okay, I straight off the bat, I will say that it's not for everyone. It's a large pen. It's girthy. It can't be, well, it can sort of be posted, but it's not super secure. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. So there's no real point posting this. It's big, and I like that. But if you have smaller hands, this may not be for you. I'll come back to that. Actually, let's do it now. Then we're going to hop back and forth a bit between likes and dislikes. I hate it when he does that. I'm sorry. This seems like a logical point. What I have read online, because I read other people's reviews as well, so that I know kind of what the opinion of other people is as well, right? Because I only get one of these pens. There are a lot of them out there. So this one is great, but all the other ones are crap. No, that's not really good, is it? Anyway, most people seem to like it. But what I have read is that the nib is too big for some people. And I don't mean that in a funny fashion, but I mean it in a very pragmatic sense. Look at how big this nib is. It's a very big nib. And it sticks out very far. So some people, they hold... That's fluff on my finger. Sorry. Some people hold this nib, and it's so big that I think their hand is a bit too small, and then they can't hit the paper at a nice angle. It's too big for them. That can happen. I haven't really experienced that, but I can see how that would happen, because for me it's on the edge. It's just comfortable, but I mean it shouldn't be any bigger. It shouldn't stand out anymore. Given the love of people for bigger and bigger nibs, now we have number 10, which is not an invention from Magna Carta. We've had number 10 nibs. Mont Blanc 149 is a number 9 nib. The Namiki Emperor, that I've shown you in the previous part of the video, also has a huge nib, right? So soon we may have number 20 nibs and number 40 nibs and number 60 nibs and number 100 nibs, and at some point you need two hands to sort of paint your wall with it. It is, in all seriousness, that could be an issue. So I don't think this is a pen for those with smaller hands. There is the Mag 600, which is the smaller model. And yes, at some point I will do a fountain pen shootout between the two, but the Mag 600 has a flex nib, so that's a different sort of beast entirely. So the size could actually be an issue. I like the massive nib. It's smooth. This is the medium. They only come in medium and fine right now. It is steel, but it is a beautiful large nib. If you really want a really big nib, this is one way to get one. It's not a cheap pen, so here again we flick back and forth between likes and dislikes. 410 US is not cheap. But bear in mind, another pen that comes to mind that has a nib approximately this size is an Namiki Emperor, which currently goes for 2100 US. Yes, that is a gold nib, that is urushi, that has a one-way shut-off valve. I'm not saying that's the same pen, because it's not. It's a different type of pen in a different price class. The urushi alone increases the price. Although, look at Wancher, they can do it at a much lower price than a Miki can. But that's neither here nor there. The issue here is, it's not a cheap pen. $410 is not cheap. But if you want to experiment with such a big nib, I don't know of a cheaper way to get this type of nib. There's also Mr. Toma, who makes Toma, T-O-H-M-A, who makes pens. He makes his own nibs. Those are really big as well. That's this size. But those pens are more expensive than an Namiki Emperor. So I mean, then you get into an even higher price bracket. If you want a relatively affordable, and I know that affordable is maybe not the correct term here, but in this lineup a relatively affordable pen with such a big nib, this is it, period. Because I don't know of any other pens with number 10 nibs. I don't know of a $5 Chinese pen with a number 10 nib. There is the Jinhao 1919, which has number 8 nib, but that's not number 10. Anyway, so there we are. Ebonite feed is another thing that I really love, and it's a lot of feed. That's a really, really big, I put my finger next to it, that's a lot of feed, right? And it works well. It's very consistent. I haven't had the pen run dry, I haven't had it skip, I haven't had it hard start. It seems to provide a very nice steady ink flow. I've had so much fun with it, I drained a converter in a couple days. Okay, I want to eyedropper it next. I haven't tried it yet, but you're supposed to be able to eyedropper these. I'll try that, see what happens. This is a big barrel, so that should hold nice amounts of ink. Final thing I will say is, one more bit of nagging about the price. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, but you get these nibs that they make in-house. The pen is made in-house. Some people I saw online said the pen is a bit austere for the price, like it could be a bit fancier. Well, Magna Carta works with a lot of interesting materials. This is an ebonite pen. I already think there is another material coming up for at least the Mag 600 if I remember correctly. But in any case, who knows? If these pens sell well, let's see if other finishes follow, right? We don't know that. That's all I have. A kind thank you to Hiren for sending me this. If you want one, they're not available everywhere necessarily, but in the US I saw them at Goulet Pens, so you can get one there. If you're in Europe, you don't want to order from the US, you know, import duties, etc. Appelboom also sells them. And Appelboom, remember, if you click the banner on the right on the website, my website, you get a 10% discount. And 10% of whatever this costs in Europe is nice. So there we are. Hope this was useful, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye.